Elderly wisdom. 12 ugly habits that people have in their later years that make them uncomfortable but no one tells you about them. Have you ever pondered whether you are engaging in behaviors that subtly alienate people, but no one has the courage to tell you about it? As we become older, we start to develop certain routines that we stick to. There are some that are reassuring and even wise, but there are others that, well, others can become blind spots. It is possible that you believe that you are simply being yourself, but the reality is that the people around you are aware of your behavior. Even if they do not express their opinion, the behaviors you engage in can subtly influence how your family, friends, and even strangers have an impression of you. There are 12 unpleasant things that you might be doing in your old age that everyone notices, but no one tells you about. We are going to unmask these things in this video. On the other hand, I am not referring to an unpleasant appearance. I'm referring to the kinds of actions that gradually erode your sense of dignity, push you further away from other people, and chip away at the grace and respect that you've worked so hard to gain over the course of your entire life. Because of each of these signals, you will be prompted to reflect, not to pass harsh judgment on yourself, but rather to gently hold a mirror up to your face and ask yourself, is this still serving me, or is it driving people away? Now, let me tell you the excellent news. Fixing the majority of these habits is not at all difficult. Simply becoming aware is the first step in the process. By the time you reach the conclusion of this video, you will not only be aware of what to watch out for, but you will also be able to carry yourself with greater self-assurance, clarity, and grace in your latter years. Therefore, I encourage you to remain with me to the very end, since you might come to the realization that a few minor adjustments could make a significant impact in how other people perceive you, and more significantly, how you perceive yourself. Let's get started. At the top of the list is disregarding personal hygiene. When a person quits taking care of their hygiene, it is one of the first things that people notice. However, it is something that is rarely brought up in conversation. In addition, I am not referring to a significant lack of attention. Even the smallest details matter. Donning garments that have the appearance of having been worn for 3 consecutive days in a row. Hair that has not been brushed in a while. Fingernails that are a little bit longer than they should be. An unpleasant odor that persists for a considerable amount of time after you have left the room. This may appear to be insignificant, but it conveys a great deal. As you can see, hygiene is not equal to merely being clean. The way in which we carry ourselves is important. Typically, while we are younger, we tend to continue these routines without even giving them a second thought. On the other hand, as we get older, our energy levels decrease, our routines shift, and some individuals begin to wonder what the point of it all is. The people around you are aware of this transformation, despite the fact that it is subtle. It's possible that they won't tell you the truth since they don't want to make you feel embarrassed. Especially younger members of the family. They are unable to bring it up in a way that does not harm your feelings. As a result, they just make adjustments. They are situated a little further aside. The visit is cut down in length. Suddenly, they stop initiating hugs. However, what people are actually reacting to is not because of you. The message that your self-care is delivering is that you should. This indicates that you have, to some extent, given up. It's possible that you don't place as much importance on yourself as you once did. Moreover, this is the portion that nobody ever says out loud. When you stop taking care of yourself, people will stop treating you without even realizing it will happen, maintaining the same level of respect and friendliness throughout. Having said that, this does not imply that you are required to dress like a fashion model or to apply fragrance on a daily basis. On the other hand, a clean shirt, neatly manicured nails, and clean hair can go a long way. They let the world know that I am still present. I am still concerned. I continue to respect both myself and you. The fact of the matter is that people react to your energetic presence before they react to the things you say. And one of the most obvious manifestations of that energy is the practice of hygiene. When you ensure that you are taking care of yourself, You are subtly inviting other people to treat you with love, intimacy, and decency. Moreover, that is a message that should be sent. A second point. Speaking without any kind of filter. Something peculiar has a tendency to take place as we become older. There is a gradual decrease in the volume of the inner voice that used to suggest, "Perhaps you shouldn't say that out loud," and there are occasions when it completely vanishes. The more you express your mind, the more freely you do so. You might even be thinking to yourself, "I've worked hard enough to earn the right to say whatever I want." Furthermore, despite the fact that this may feel free, the people around you frequently experience a quite different kind of discomfort. The difference between being honest and being blunt is a thin line. As you can see, and over time, if you discover that you are saying things that cause people to halt, move in their chairs, or avoid eye contact, this could be an indication that what you are expressing is not just the truth, rather, it is harshness. It is possible that you have found yourself making comments about the weight, attractiveness, relationship, or even the manner in which someone is parenting their children toward another person. It is possible that you have dismissed it with a chuckle and stated, "Listen, I am just being honest." Or, "When I was younger, we were not as sensitive as we are now." The truth of the matter is, however, that honesty apart from compassion is nothing more than criticism. On the other hand, those who are on the receiving end of it rarely tell you. After then, they simply begin to retreat. You will observe that they will no longer invite you to particular get-togethers, or that they will not remain on the phone for as long. Despite the fact that they love you, they are attempting to shield themselves from the hurt caused by those insignificant and casual statements. Now, this does not mean that you have to censor every word or walk on eggshells, however. It does mean that you should pause before you speak and ask yourself, "Is this helpful? What sort is this?" Mostly due to the fact that there are instances when what appears to be speaking your truth is actually just a release of frustration. And it hits you more forcefully than you know. If you would not want someone to say anything to your grandchild, then you probably shouldn't say it to someone else's grandchild either. This is a solid rule of thumb. The wisdom that you carry with you as you get older is a beautiful thing. However, when that knowledge is encased in kindness, people tend to lean in closer. They are present. Their respect for you is profound. However, if it is delivered with a layer of sarcasm or judgment, they begin to tune out. Regardless of whether or not your intentions are good, your remarks continue to influence others, perhaps more than at any other time. Instead of using them to create distance, use them to make connections. I would appreciate it if you could use the second comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. The third issue is that you are wearing clothes that no longer fit properly. For example, having the same breakfast every morning, walking the same way, and wearing the same clothing that you've had for years are all examples of routines that provide a certain level of comfort. There is nothing wrong with being consistent when it comes to apparel. However, something that was once considered classic can, over the course of time, start to feel irresponsible. It is possible that you are not aware of it, but the manner in which your clothing fit, or do not fit, conveys a great deal of information about how connected you are to the here and now. Outdated fashions from 20 years ago, pants that hang too loose, shirts that cling too tight, shoes that have long since lost their shape, and so on are all examples of outmoded clothing. These are not merely options in terms of fashion. They subtly convey the impression that you have stopped paying attention to what they are saying. However, they are aware of it, even though no one will publicly acknowledge it. It is not about doing things like trying to dress like someone half your age or following the latest trends. It is about demonstrating to the world that you continue to consider yourself to be someone who is worthy of being cared for. People are immediately moved to feelings of appreciation if they come across an elderly person dressed in attire that is well-fitting, appears to have been cared for, and conveys a sense of self-respect. This lets them know that this individual is still present in the world. To maintain one's dignity, not one's vanity. Give it some thought. If you were to walk in for a job interview, would you wear the same suit that you wore 25 years ago? Not likely at all. When it comes to day-to-day living, identical principles apply. We experience changes in our physique, changes in our colors, and changes in our vitality. Demonstrating emotional presence and self-awareness can be accomplished by dressing in a manner that reflects your current self rather than your prior self. I've heard a few people ask, "When are you going to be here? I don't care what other people think about me. It's convenient for me," and that is accurate. Being comfortable, on the other hand, is not the same thing as being dismissive. It is possible for you to feel at ease and put together. You have the ability to be calm and considerate of your physical appearance. Even something as easy as upgrading to a pair of pants that fits you well or selecting a blouse that brings out your natural tones can have a significant impact on how people react to you. Not because of the fabric itself, but rather because of the fact that it symbolizes the fact that you are still actively involved, continually conscious, and proud of who you are at this moment. People won't approach you with compliments directly, even though they might not even discuss it at all. They are aware of it. They have a little larger smile. They speak to you with a little bit more respect than usual. Because the way we dress is the first thing that the world sees. Regardless of whether we like it or not, this first impression is still important even when one is in their later years. It is the fourth, interrupting or taking control of talks being held, especially in our latter years, when we have gone through enough events to know a thing or two. We all want to be heard. This is especially true in our later years. On the other hand, there are instances when we fail to allow room for other people because we are so eager to share what we know or to make sure that our point is understood. It is possible for it to begin subtly. You are having a chat with someone, and this person brings up a subject that you have previously discussed. Then you dive in. You present a narrative. At this point, you begin to describe what they ought to do. In the blink of an eye, 10 minutes have gone by, and nobody else has made a momentary appearance. One of the challenges associated with this habit is that it does not originate from a negative place. The vast majority of the time, it stems from a sincere wish to be of assistance. But this is where the issue lies. When we take up an excessive amount of space during a conversation, we unintentionally mute the very people that we should be listening to. And they won't bring it to your attention that you are doing it. Instead, they will begin to recede into the distance. You won't hear from them as frequently. They are going to keep conversations more concise. Although you will be able to sense the distance, you will not always be able to pinpoint its origin. When people are not being lectured, they want to feel seen and heard. Additionally, when every interaction begins to feel like a one-way street, it gradually wears down the relationship in a subtle way. This is especially true when dealing with younger individuals or grandchildren, who may already be experiencing some degree of uncertainty on how to interact with someone from a different generation. Listening more is more important than reducing the amount of words you utter. Allowing for pauses, asking more questions than you answer, and avoiding the impulse to offer advice unless it is specifically requested are all important aspects of effective communication. Within the context of a conversation, one of the most effective things that an older person may do is to refrain from speaking. Just enough to allow others to fully express themselves with their words. It's not because you don't have anything insightful to say, rather, it's because others need to be aware that what they have to say is also important. This is where the irony sits. People will be more interested in hearing your thoughts if you do not dominate the conversation. They are more likely to trust you if you listen to them more, instead of becoming someone they feel they have to brace themselves for. You become someone they actively want to talk to. Pay notice the next time you are in a group setting, or even if you are simply having a conversation with someone. Do you actually pay attention to what is being said? Or are you simply waiting for your moment to speak? This seemingly insignificant adjustment in awareness has the potential to completely transform everything. Because when individuals have the sense that they are being heard, they are more likely to open up. They become more intimate, and they begin to look forward to the next interaction rather than dreading it. Complaining about children in today's society is the fifth point. It all begins with a straightforward observation. You look at a young person who is addicted to their phone and say to yourself, "When I was your age, we actually communicated with each other." If you hear someone in their 30s making a decision that you disagree with, you could conclude that they have no concept how things actually function in the real world. Then, before you know it, these thoughts begin to make their way into interactions with various people, including friends, family, and even complete strangers. It is possible that you are unaware of the fact that when you consistently criticize younger generations, you are sending a highly influential and frequently harmful message. This communicates to the people in your immediate environment, particularly your children and grandchildren, that you are not interested in comprehending them and that you are locked in a period of time that is no longer in existence. Having said that, here is the unsettling reality. Every generation has the irrational belief that the generation that will follow them is lacking something. That makes no sense at all. However, when that critique becomes your default, it does not make people perceive you as intelligent. Rather, it leaves them with the impression that you are a bitter person. You could be making a joke out of it. You may believe that you are simply pointing out something that is apparent. But the individuals who hear it, particularly those who are under the age of 50, frequently experience it as a form of rejection. You are treating their entire world, their values, and their way of life as if you are discarding them. What is the end result? They can no longer be trusted. They maintain a light-hearted attitude. They steer clear of more in-depth interactions because they are preparing themselves for criticism. In spite of the fact that they love you, they begin to keep a portion of themselves physically apart from you. Having said that, this does not imply that you have to agree with everything that younger people do. This does not imply that you are required to adopt each and every new idea or trend. What it does mean, however, is that one should prioritize curiosity over criticism, asking questions rather than making assumptions. You can inquire, "What is it like?" instead of saying, "These kids today have it easy." When you change from expressing that, searching for your way in this world at this very moment, you are the one who opens the door to connection. You make room for conversation rather than space for division. Keep in mind that evaluating yourself based on how you compare to others in the past is not valuable. That is the result of connecting them, because of the fact that they are the steady hand that spans multiple generations. Do not listen to the voice that yells from behind you. And if you can believe it, when younger people see that they are valued by you, they start to listen more. Inquiries are made by them, rather of coming to you because they are required to. They come to you because they want to. You become not only the authority figure in the room, but also the person whom they look up to, trust, and seek advice from. A wisdom that listens first and then speaks is what we are looking for. Not lectures. Such is the power of influence. And it all begins with letting go of the urge to be right about how things used to be and instead leaning into who you can still be right now. I would appreciate it if you could use the 5th comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Now, let's proceed with our plans. On the 6th spot, disregarding contemporary manners. When it is not present, a certain form of social awareness is frequently overlooked until it is no longer present. A few examples of such behaviors are talking loudly on your phone in public, standing too close to the front of the line, or playing a movie without headphones while waiting in a waiting room. Certainly, Even seemingly insignificant actions can have a significant influence on how other people view you. Now, it's possible that these things wouldn't have been a big concern a long time ago. During that time period, individuals had a greater tolerance for loud talks or unexpected conduct. However, times progress. There is a shift in expectations. And something that was once thought to be completely harmless now causes people to feel a subdued discomfort. This is when things become complicated. It's possible that you won't even consciously be doing it. There is no one who takes you aside and asks, "Hey, would you be able to decline that? Alternately, would you mind taking a few steps back?" The alternative is that they will stare at you, avoid making eye contact, or relocate to a different seat for you. While it is not a personal matter, it is a fact, and regardless of whether it's on the metro, in a coffee shop, or even just when going through a store, these seemingly insignificant violations of what people now believe to be common politeness send a meaningful message. They claim that I am unaware of the impact that I have on other people. In addition, the fact of the matter is that society does not often give elderly individuals the benefit of the doubt. They frequently make the assumption that you should be more knowledgeable. It is for this reason that they do not attribute these acts to a misunderstanding when they observe them. They attribute it to a state of disregard. Leaving behind such a legacy is not what you want to do. It is also one of the things that can be fixed with the least amount of effort. Start paying attention to how individuals around you behave in public places, including how they control their volume, how they traverse personal space, and how they interact with technology when there are other people around. Etiquette in the modern era is not about being very formal. Consideration is the key to success here. It demonstrates that you are still engaged in the world, that you are still conscious of the impact that you have on other people, and that you are still tuned into the world. In addition, this understanding helps to cultivate respect. Despite the fact that I am getting older, it conveys to them that I am still someone who pays attention, one who is able to adjust, one who is concerned about the emotions of other people. This not only improves how people who are not familiar with you react to you, your own family's perception of you shifts as a result of this. The grandkids take note, the neighbors take note, and the silent admiration they have for one another increases. Because in a world that is constantly moving, a person who moves with awareness and who carries themselves with a subtle dignity stands out more than they ever have before. 7th, excessively discussing medical issues with others. We have all heard the joke that when you get a group of elderly people together, the conversation turns into a competition to see who has the worst knee, the highest blood pressure, or the most pills stacked on the shelf in the bathroom. And even while it could appear to be innocuous conversation or even a method to connect with others, persistently bringing up your health problems can gradually wear out the energy of others who are in your immediate vicinity. The fact of the matter is that everyone is aware that becoming older is accompanied by a certain amount of physical difficulties. There is no need for you to act as if everything is totally okay. However, when your talks consistently revolve around what is hurting, what the doctor said, or what is next on the list of surgeries, individuals begin to feel as though they are in a waiting room rather than in a relationship. It is possible for these subjects to feel overwhelming, particularly for younger members of the family. They may be at a loss for words or may have a sense of helplessness when they are informed of problems that they are unable to change. In other words, rather than getting closer, they move away. It's not out of disrespect, rather, it's out of simply being exhausted. You have earned compassion. It is only fair that you be heard. On the other hand, when that becomes the focal point of how you react to other people, the dynamic shifts from connection to caretaking, and from discourse to complaint. It goes from one to the other. Take into consideration the folks you like spending time with. There is a good chance that they are not the ones who list every pain and medication that they take. It is they that concentrate on the things that are still positive. Those individuals who may call attention to a difficulty, but who do not allow it to define the moment. At this point, does that imply that you ought to conceal your struggles? Absolutely not at all. However, You should select your audience, take control of the timing, and maybe most critically, pick a middle ground. Tell them how you are doing, but don't forget to inquire about how they are doing as well. Discuss topics such as the book you are now reading, the garden of your neighbor, or the bird you observed outside your window. When you stop letting your health be the focal point of every conversation, you might be surprised to find that your relationships feel significantly lighter. This is because your life is still full with tales that aren't simply medical charts. And people want to connect with you, not just your symptoms. Not only do you feel better when you concentrate on what you are capable of doing, what you take pleasure in doing, and what still brings a smile to your face, but you also assist other people feel better. A beautiful form of medicine in its own right. Being someone who lifts the room, even if it's just a little bit, is a wonderful thing to do in a world that already feels heavy. Having a tenacious attitude toward outmoded beliefs is the 8th point. When our beliefs begin to become barriers rather than windows, it is one of the most difficult things to recognize in ourselves. Particularly as we get older, we continue to cling to concepts that were previously beneficial to us. Beliefs that influenced the way in which we brought up our children, managed our businesses, and attempted to make sense of the world. Nevertheless, if we do not exercise caution, those ideas have the potential to fortify over time into absolutes that are no longer reflective of the world in which we currently reside. You may find yourself saying things like, "That's just how it is. People are too sensitive these days." Or, "I don't care what the science says. I know what's right." These are all examples of statements that you can experience. And despite the fact that you might have a strong conviction in your viewpoints, what other people typically hear is a quite different kind of opposition. The fact of the matter is that the world has changed, and it is continuing to change. All of these things, including technology, culture, gender roles, knowledge of mental health, and the way we communicate, are undergoing rapid change. In addition, when we dig our heels in and refuse to even entertain the possibility of another viewpoint, we are not displaying wisdom, rather, we are displaying unwillingness through our actions. This is something that younger generations are aware of, and once again, they will not typically address you directly. On the other hand, they are secretly labeling you as someone they are unable to discuss certain topics with, someone who will not comprehend, and someone who does not wish to participate in the conversation. That is a significant setback. Whether it's your grandson who is questioning traditional occupations or your neighbor who is living a lifestyle, you don't fully grasp that there is a great deal of connection that can be made when curiosity takes the place of judgment. Keeping an open mind does not mean that you are giving up your principles. To say that you are willing to update your understanding without compromising who you are is an indication of this. Making room at the table for new ideas, even if you don't agree with all of them, is what it means to do this. Another thing to consider is that fear is frequently concealed by stubbornness. Fear of losing relevance, fear of falling behind, and concern that if we let go of our old beliefs, we would lose a part of who we are can be categorized as fear. It is not the degree to which you cling to the past that determines your relevance, rather, it is the degree to which you face the present with bravery that determines your significance. You are able to open doors when you are able to say, "I never thought of it that way," or when you are able to tell me more about what exactly that means to you. As a result, people stroll through them with a sense of security. One of the most wonderful aspects is that you are able to change your opinion at times. There are occasions when the younger person you are choosing to listen to turns out to be correct in ways that you had not anticipated. And it is just this humility and willingness that endears you to others and makes them actually admire you. Not because you were full of knowledge, but rather because you continued to be a student of life even when you were in your senior years. It's not very common, but it's quite potent. Please leave a comment below with the number 8 to let me know that you are still watching this video and that you believe these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Now, let's proceed with our plans. Walking or moving without being aware of the space around you is the ninth example. Our tempo shifts as we become older. As we slow down a little bit, it is totally normal for us to experience a decrease in our stability or an increase in our level of caution when walking. On the other hand, what frequently takes place without our knowledge is that we tend to lose awareness of the ways in which our actions impact the others in our immediate vicinity. During the process of scanning a label, you have most likely witnessed someone standing in the center of a grocery aisle with their cart positioned in an oblique manner, fully blocking the way. It may be someone who suddenly stops in the middle of a crowded path, lost in thought. Alternately, you could be walking with a friend and gradually finding yourself in the path of approaching foot traffic. The vast majority of the time, these occurrences are not in any way malicious. There is no intention on your part to be inconsiderate. Simply put, you are concentrating on the task at hand. However, it may appear to be friction to those who are in close proximity to you, particularly those who are in a hurry or operating in confined places. As if you are putting in place a few minor challenges that will make their day a little more challenging. The most important thing to note is that people hardly ever say anything. What they do is simply sigh, move around you, and possibly give you a short glance before continuing on. However, over the course of time, these seemingly insignificant occurrences add up to how other people perceive you. It's possible that they will begin to view you as the person who is always getting in the way. Alternately, they might make a subtle decision to steer clear of circumstances in which they would be required to stroll alongside you, shop with you, or negotiate public settings together. Not because they dislike you, but rather because they have the impression that they are responsible for managing you. Now, I want to make it perfectly clear that slowing down is not the issue at hand. Awareness is the problem at hand. While still showing respect for the area around you, you can move slowly. You are able to take a break to read something while still being on the side. You can walk with caution while keeping an awareness of the flow that is occurring around you. The importance of this cannot be overstated in settings such as airports, bustling walkways, shopping malls, or even the hallways of churches. In these shared areas, demonstrating that you are still paying attention by being respectful is a powerful way to communicate that you are paying attention, that you continue to be concerned about the impact that you have on other people. Having this kind of awareness is, in point of fact, a sophisticated form of grace. It conveys to others that you are not solely focused on yourself. You have a presence, thoughtfulness, and kindness. The reality is that the majority of individuals do not anticipate achieving perfection. Simply said, all they want is a little bit of effort, a little bit of awareness, and a little bit of consideration. You will be noticed when you demonstrate that, as a caring individual, not as a person who moves more slowly. A person who continues to navigate the world with a feeling of responsibility and dignity has a quiet sense of responsibility. That kind of presence, on the other hand, is more potent than you might think it is. 10th place. Telling jokes that don't hold up well over time. When you reach old age, one of the most valuable things you can bring with you is a healthy sense of humor. Even under the most trying of circumstances, it does a good job of keeping you light, keeping others comfortable, and helping to reduce tension. However, not all humor is able to age gracefully. In addition, many jokes, particularly those that were humorous a few decades ago, have the potential to subtly alienate people in the present day. You could be joking in the same way that you have always done. A tiny bit of sarcasm here, a statement that is meant to tease there. It could be a remark that makes fun of someone's history, appearance, or decisions, or that plays off of old prejudices related to that person. As you say it, you might even laugh, and then you might follow it up by saying, "I'm just messing with you." Or you can say, "Come on, lighten up." On the other hand, this is what has altered the world around you. People are much more sensitive to how words land, especially when they come from someone older. It used to be that humor relied on making fun of differences. But today people are much more sensitive to how words land, to a greater extent than older people. Younger people are navigating a culture that places an emphasis on empathy, inclusivity, and respect for individual experiences. It is difficult to find a joke funny when it appears to be in conflict with the ideals that are being discussed. The impression that it gives is one of disconnection, or even worse, disrespect. What's more, they won't inform you most likely. After that, they will simply chuckle politely and avoid coming too near to you. You will be aware of the distance, but you might not be able to comprehend whence it originated. However, this does not imply that you should constantly be on your guard. In no way does this imply that humor is forbidden. On the other hand, it does require you to reconsider your default response to particular types of jokes. This is humorous because it is clever, but is it funny because it puts someone else down? Ask yourself this question. The kind of humor that helps people feel better is the best kind of humor. Especially when people are becoming older. Not discomfort, but lightness is brought about by that. This demonstrates that you are not merely clinging to the past but rather progressing in tandem with everyone else. Having the ability to laugh at oneself is, in point of fact, the single most effective way to form connections. It demonstrates a humble attitude. This provides a point of view. It demonstrates that you are not engaging in any kind of proof-seeking. Simply said, you are here to celebrate the occasion with other people. And when people see that, they feel a sense of calm. They participate. They begin to view you not simply as the older person in the room, but also as someone who is still able to understand what is going on. You will go a long way if you have a good sense of humor. On the other hand, a sense of humor that is not only self-aware but also insightful and a little bit current will keep the door to connection wide open for people of any age. Position 11. Pretending to be helpless while you are not. Real difficulties are brought about by getting older. That is something that no one can refute. Some activities that used to come easily now require more time, more attention, and sometimes even more assistance than they did in the past. However, there is a distinction between the necessity for assistance and the tendency to rely on it even when it is not required. Furthermore, as time passes, the distinction becomes something that individuals notice more than they will ever acknowledge to being aware of. Is it possible that you have been accustomed to asking, "Can you just do it for me?" Or, "I have no idea how any of this is supposed to function. Even so, I'll make a mess of it." Those requests don't appear to be malicious at first. Nevertheless, when they turn into habits, particularly for activities that you are still able to perform, they can gradually begin to wear on the others who are in your immediate vicinity. Even when you are completely capable of taking care of yourself, people in your family may begin to feel this way. It's possible that your friends have noticed that you are the one who is usually lifting, reaching, mending, and organizing, and despite the fact that they may grin and say, "No problem," they are beginning to feel something else on the inside, which is resentment. This behavior is sometimes subconscious, which adds an additional layer of complexity to the situation. It's not a lack of motivation, it's fear. The dread of screwing up, the fear of appearing foolish, and the worry of falling behind are all fears. You have allowed another person to take over. Additionally, your freedom will be lost a little bit more with each little sacrifice that you make. However, here is the reality. Effort is more highly regarded than perfection among people. Instead of giving up completely, they would like to see you make an effort and struggle a little bit. When you demonstrate that you are still an active participant in the game, your children, grandchildren, and even your neighbors feel a sense of pride. That you still have a desire to learn, keep moving, and take part. And when you only seek for assistance when you are in desperate need of it, they have greater faith in you. They have no sense that they are being exploited or that they are being taken for granted. They are aware that it is not a matter of habit but rather of honesty. And as a result, they consider it an honor to step in. It is not necessary to act as if you are 30 years old in order to preserve your sense of agency. showing up with what you are capable of doing, asking for what you are unable to do, and respecting the boundary between the two are all important aspects of this. When you begin to reclaim the tiny items that you carry in your own bag, you will be amazed at how empowered you feel within yourself. Getting a handle on the new remote control and following a recipe without having to ask someone to hover over you. Small victories like these help create confidence. They serve as a reminder to you and everyone else around you that although your capabilities may shift as you get older, this does not mean that your physical strength, your willpower, or your dignity are diminished, mostly due to the fact that those who actually age well are not the ones who never turn to others for assistance. They are the ones who are aware of when to speak up and say, "I've got this," as well as when to ask for something. Number 12. Being adamant that you are always correct. It is important for every one of us to have the sense that we have earned our place at the table, particularly after years of life experience, challenging decisions, and lessons learned the hard way. Therefore, it is not surprising that many people who are in their latter years feel as though they have the answers at some point in their lives, that they have sufficient experience to understand how things operate, and in many instances, they do, when the urge to be correct takes precedence over the need to connect. However, this is when things start to get complicated. People cease paying attention. It could manifest itself in trivial ways. At dinner, rebutting someone's story or insisting that your approach to anything is the only one that makes sense are both examples of corrective behavior. Doing things like rolling your eyes at new ideas or dismissing the opinion of another person by saying, "Rely on me, I am more knowledgeable." At first, most people might just shrug it off. You might even hear them laugh. However, being in the company of someone who is always so insistent on being right can become exhausting with time. People start avoiding interactions that are meaningful to them. They are unable to express their thoughts. They give up challenging you not because you have succeeded in persuading them, but rather because it is simpler for them to remain silent. What's ironic is that many people of a certain age don't do this out of arrogance. They do it in order to feel secure in a world that is rapidly changing around them, to have the sense that they still hold influence over the situation. In contrast, it is counterproductive when the pursuit of truth takes precedence over the pursuit of kindness or curiosity. It is not necessary to possess all the answers in order to be wise. In other words, it is being aware of when to present your viewpoint and when to allow another person to investigate their own. This means that you should hold your opinions with self-assurance while simultaneously maintaining an open mind. Because I am telling you the truth, the vast majority of people do not speak it aloud. The individuals that we adore the most are not the ones who set us straight. People who listen, ponder, and gently invite us to think differently without forcing us to do so are the ones who are responsible for this. It is definitely the case that people will come to you more frequently after you stop attempting to win every discussion. You are asked for your opinion. The feedback you provide is valued. You are not the dominant person in the room, rather, the words you speak have a weight that is composed and considered. And since you don't talk with the sole intention of winning, your voice resonates more deeply when you do speak. It is affixed. It is important. The desire to be correct dissipates as time goes on. The way you made other people feel is what will endure. Moreover, when you provide room for other people to be heard, challenged, and lifted up, your presence transforms into something that they actually treasure rather than something that they endure. Lastly, some thoughts. Having gone through these 12 habits, please take a minute to reflect in a gentle manner, without passing judgment on yourself. Which of these routines have slowly entered your life and become a part of your routine? Can you name the ones that took you by surprise? Which of these do you feel you are prepared to change, even if it is only slightly? The purpose of this film was not to demean or condemn anyone. This was designed to provide you with something that the majority of people do not have: genuine understanding wrapped in compassion. Mainly due to the fact that these actions do not constitute a negative character trait in you. To put it simply, they are blind spots. Those things that become ingrained in us throughout time without our knowledge. And when we finally become aware of it, that is when true strength is revealed. That is not by denying their existence, but rather by stating that I recognize them. I am capable of doing better. I still have the ability to develop further. This is the essence of what it means to age gracefully. Not clinging to the past. Not fighting against change, but rather entering into each new day with self-awareness, grace, and the calm power of someone who still wants to connect with others, grow, and be a source of warmth in the lives of other people. It is important that you keep these signals in mind as you move forward, as subtle reminders, rather than as a checklist to be followed. The ways in which one might continue to present oneself in the world with the kind of dignity, presence, and character that causes others to feel respected, comfortable, and inspired. It is important to keep in mind that it is never too late to change the way you navigate the world. How you speak, listen, dress, joke, or interact with others may drastically shift how others perceive you and how you perceive your own place in the world. Even seemingly insignificant changes can have a profound impact. We appreciate you being here with us today. It would be wonderful if you could get in touch with us. Please leave a comment below and tell us about one item you discovered today and how you intend to put it to use in your life right now. We place a high value on your opinions, so please do not be reluctant to share them with us. Our inspiration and encouragement are greatly increased as a result of reading your remarks. I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it to be informative and enjoyable. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. We appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we hope to see you in the future video.